1.1, the title of this is called Expressions and Formulas. Hopefully most of these notes will only take about 10 or 15 minutes. This is only 3 templates long, so it shouldn't take you too long. So I'm just going to go over the order of operations before I start. PEM does. I think you have heard of PEM does. The first thing you're supposed to do is called the order of operations. Your grouping symbols are the first thing you have to do. Parentheses are your grouping symbols. After you do your parentheses, powers are next. Another name for powers is exponents, like 2 to the third power. Some people think 2 to the third is 2 times 3, which is 6, but it's how many 2's? 3 2's. So it would be 2 times 2 times 2, which ends up being an 8. After you do your parentheses, after you do your powers, then you have to multiply and divide from left to right. It says it right here. MD stands for multiply and divide from left to right, just like you read a book. And add and subtract, which stands for the A and the S. So, parentheses first, that's the first thing you do. Powers are the second things you do. Multiply or divide from left to right, and add and subtract from left to right. So those 4 steps. So, here we go. Part 1, you want to evaluate the expression. If the A stands for -1, B stands for 4, and C is equal to 2. So for these 2 problems, and this is basically all you're going to be doing for today, is you're going to substitute. You're going to write 2 down, but you're going to replace the B with what the B stands for. The B stands for 4. -2. You're going to replace what the A stands for, -1, divided by what the C stands for, 2 squared. I'm going to show my work. 2 times 4 is equal to 8. Do you notice that there's a negative and there's also a negative here? That'll make that a +2. Divided by 2 squared. You can use your calculator. You have a caret button on your calculator. You can just do 2 squared and you're going to get 4. 8 plus 2 is 10 on the top, divided by 4, and then use your calculator. The final answer is going to be 2.5. This is all we're doing. I would probably do a couple more with me, and then if you are catching on, you could stop this early if you are catching on. But let's do a couple more. Again, we're going to use these 3 to do this problem. So in place of the C, I'm going to put a 2 minus 3. Use your brackets, use a parenthesis. In place of the A, use a -1. In place of the B, use a 4, use a parenthesis, plus 2 times the C, which is 2. Keep using brackets and parentheses. I'm going to leave the 4 times the 2. I'm going to leave the 3. Remember, you have to do your parentheses first. So here's my first set of parentheses. A -1 and a -4 makes a -5, plus, and 2 times 2 makes 4. 4, 2, -3. This little bracket also kind of stands for parenthesis. You have to do that first. So what's a -5 plus 4? You could do that on your calculator. It makes a -1. Now we have 4, 2, a -3, and a -1. You have to do multiplying first, so this makes 8. Again, you notice that there's a negative of a negative, which makes this a +3. Your final answer, 11. Yeah, we have a couple more. So let's do these 2 together, and then the last one I'm going to have you do by yourself. X stands for 1, Y stands for 4, raised to the third, plus 3. So I just substitute what X stood for and what Y stood for. 1 minus 4 is a -3, still raised to the third, plus 3. Okay, you could put this into your calculator. You can use your parenthesis, put the -3, use a parenthesis, and then you have that caret key and raise it to the third. And you should get a -27 if you know what you're doing on your calculator, plus 3, and that makes a -24. This one, the n is 2 minus, the t is 3, the n is 2, so it's squared, and the t is 3 again. So all I did was substitute in place of the n's and the t's, the 2 and the 3, and now I'm going to simplify it. I'm going to leave my 2 minus 3. I'm going to do my power first. 2 squared is 4, minus 3. I'm going to write down 2 minus 3, and I'm going to take 4, take away 3. 4 take away 3 is 1. I need to multiply before I can subtract, you guys. Remember your order of operations. 2 minus, you must multiply first. That makes 3. 2 take away 3 is a -1. Okay, before I do you do the last problem, I just want to talk about something before we go on to the last screen. See all the work I'm showing? This one, this one, this one, this one. What happens if I was the teacher and I just said, here's the problem for today. Here's the problem for today. And the answer is -1. What happens if I show no steps? Are you going to understand it, what I'm doing, if I show no steps? You must show your work. When you're taking your test, I can check to see what you're doing wrong when you're doing your homework. We can check to see what you're doing wrong by looking at your work. So please show all the work so we can see why you're not getting the right answers. Okay, this last problem. Basically, I want you to work it out on your own. I want you to shut this off, and I want you to work it out on your own and see if you can do this by yourself, and then turn it back on. And if you get the right answer, you should be good to go for your worksheet. In place of M, I put a 3. In place of K, I put a 1. In place of the other K, I put a 1. In place of the M, I put a 3 plus 3 parentheses. So the first thing you have to do is substitute the numbers for the variables, and now your order of operations. I'm just going to copy this stuff down because you have to do what's in parentheses first. Order of operations says you have to multiply first before you can add. Copy down all the stuff on the outside and replace the 6 plus 3 with the 9. Notice that there's an addition sign, a subtraction sign, and this stands for multiplying. I have to do that first. 3 plus 1 minus 9. Now I can add and subtract from left to right. 4 take away 9. You should have gotten a -5 for your final answer. And that's all the notes for today.